Okay.
Good morning, all. Welcome to attending the Heating and Cooling Board. First agenda is the review of the minutes of the last meeting. Anybody have any questions on these?
I have a question, but I don't know if I'm allowed to talk.
Melissa, you're on another board. We would be happy to hear from you.
In the minutes of the last meeting, there's a section that talks about an old precedent-setting case for the 2001. It looks like a jurisdictional thing. That's why I'm attending today. I'm curious about that.
All
So
right. If it's okay with you, because it's what we have for a schedule, we have a couple of attendees. We can review that later.
okay,
Either under comments or concerns of any persons present today, okay?
thank you, Bob.
Thank you for your patience. Any of the board members have questions on the draft of the last meeting? There being none, I need a motion to accept the minutes as written.
I'll make that motion.
Need a second? Need a second? David, you there?
Second.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, a little late there. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay,
Can you guys hear me? I tried to make a motion before. I don't think I got heard.
all right. Well, we got you now. So we do have a motion. John, you a favor of the minutes? Tammy, are you afraid? Are you
I was an aye.
aye? All right. Thank you, John. Cammy, are you an aye or an A?
I'm an aye.
All right. So minutes are accepted as written. I'm going to skip over comments or concerns of any person present today. I want to get to that a little later. You also received a DTP Investigation Division Complaint Status Report.
Good morning, Pamela Brown, Director of Investigations. I'm here with Janita Hamill, Supervising Special Investigator, who will be reading the report.
Okay, Janita, go ahead. Have a good time.
Mr. Chairman, are there any questions on the report that was sent out during the 2-month time frame from January 1st, 2022 to February 28th, 2022? We received 9 new complaints, and 8 complaints were closed. The information on that is listed on the report that you all have. And do any of your board members have any comments about the closed files?
I have a couple of questions. Not every, well, the fine print makes it hard for me being old and wearing glasses.
Mr. Chairman, if you click on the plus sign, it increases the font.
Okay. Then looking at fellow by the name of Mark Campesto's 2019-273, it says settlement agreement, resolution notes for contact legal fine. There was nothing in.
That's correct, sir. That file went to legal when it says settlement agreement, and myself and the inspectors, or Pamela's division, did not do an assurance of voluntary compliance, or one of the inspectors may have been at a compliance meeting or may have been at a administrative hearing in front of whichever board it was. then I will put contact legal, because once it's up in legal, they are in charge of the file. So there was a settlement agreement that was done in legal. I think it was before new attorney Paul Grabowski's time. But that's what that means.
Okay, but then we have no idea if there was a fine or no fine at all.
Well, according to the, looking at our database, this file was closed by Paulette. Paulette, I'm not sure if you are here and if you could speak to this. It's Mark Kempesta.
She just sent an email saying that her screen is frozen.
I
Okay,
can,
I'm back. Go ahead, Paul.
Are you
Oh.
okay?
there was a fine. I just looked at the settlement agreement. It was a $2,500 fine, I believe is what that settled out as.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Just want to make sure we're having some idea, because some of these proposed fines don't necessarily involve, it's just more like a slap on the wrist instead of getting somebody's attention if they're not doing proper work. Okay, anybody else have any other questions of the report sent in by Janita? There being none, thank you very much. I appreciate your work, Janita. I know that you're working hard on these things.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
if I might be able to say just two things to your, just in general. The department went to a lot of trouble to create anonymous complaints for the different boards and associations and the unions and stuff. If everybody could just put it out there to your members and all, if you click on anonymous on a complaint, that means you're anonymous. Please ask your people not to put their email address or their phone number in the middle of the complaint narrative, because then that's going to eventually end up in the hands of the respondent, contractor, unlicensed person, the respondent, contracting company, and they're going to know who you are. So
Okay.
Anonymous means anonymous. Don't say contact me at blah, blah, blah email address or blah, blah, blah phone number, because now you're not anonymous. The same thing when filing the online complaints. If people could maybe ask their members or their associates to be a little careful in doing that. Please don't put yourself down as the respondent and the complainant at the same time.
okay,
Okay,
yeah,
it's
thank you.
it's happened more than once in the past 2 months. So I'm just putting it out there, Mr. Chairman, okay?
Thank you very much.
I appreciate your time in allowing me to speak to that, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you. Okay, old business substitute House bill, trying to straighten out the language and so forth. I assume that that's continuing to go forward. Tammy, is that what you're hearing out there, or is?
Which bill are you talking about now?
House Bill 6100, Public Act 2137, an act concerning DCP licensing and enforcement.
I haven't, that was last year's bill, I believe.
Okay,
There was one this year, 5151 they put in.
okay,
It got into Bill 5330. It's all one big omnibus bill from DCP.
okay.
That's the one that's in there now.
Righty. Sounds good. Okay, thank you, appreciate that. And on old business, continued review of state occupational trade licenses for what matches and what doesn't match, okay? We are continuing to update that. We recently had someone from Virginia apply. We rejected his application because he didn't send along what the requirements are from Virginia. And that is available if anybody wants to look at it. They actually have a pretty darn good plan all written out. And it's very, very similar to ours, 8,000 hours registration. Not matches ours identically, but it's pretty darn close. So this one particular gentleman was approved because he had multiple licenses from different states. So we're trying to put that stuff together to make it easier. And we're finding a lot of more of the states are beginning to have licensing requirements. So over the years, it's going to continue to have more reciprocity and accepting that information. Anybody have any questions on that?
Hey, Bob, are we still recommending that they take the journeyman's license before they get a contractor's license?
That has been open for discussion, and on occasion, this particular gentleman, I believe that we have allowed him to sit for the S1.
Really?
He had three, I think it was 2 or 3 master licenses from other companies, from other states, I'm sorry. So he was pretty positive. So that's where we're at with that. Anybody else have any questions? Cammy, you'll be happy to know that Sinbro has been doing a wonderful job with sending in information and getting their guys trained and tested on the welding, and the certificates are coming through. So that was a home run for us 20-something years ago, not realizing that they have really become a professional company.
Never mind, I won't state my opinion on that.
Thank you, Mr. Champlin.
Yeah.
But we are going through a reviewing of the applications, and again, we do have some gentlemen that are well qualified, and then we have some that don't quite meet it. And actually today, we are going to get into 2 application reviews. We had rejected applications. I don't know if you gentlemen had printed it out. And we are going to review an application, or he's asked to attend this meeting, for a Michael Gravel. He applies for an S1 application, and we have not approved his S1 waiver. Mr. Gravel, are you available to speak?
You should be able to speak. Oh. There we go. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right. Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you very much for letting me sit in. And Karen, I'd like to thank you for all your help getting to this point. Basically,
let me, this is Attorney Paul Grabowski for the department. Before we begin here, let me, if it's okay, I'm going to swear in Mr. Gravel. I think that's how we have to proceed here. So, Mr. Gravel, if you could please raise your right hand so I can administer the oath. And then after I administer the oath, please affirm by stating I do. So, Mr. Gravel, do you solemnly swear that the evidence you are about to give concerning the case now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paul, for catching me on that. Mr. Gravel, you may proceed.
Okay, thank you. So basically, I applied. I sat in front of you guys. Might have been different people, but maybe like 7-8 months ago to get my S2. I've had the D2 for almost 15 years. And I got the S2. I passed it first try. You guys approved it for me. I have been working at Hartford Hospital for the past 4.5 years. I also have a side business doing air duct cleaning, service, stuff like that. And I just left the hospital a few weeks ago, and I'm trying to take my side business to the next level. I plan on buying a propane truck and doing deliveries and installs and anything really. So I got the S2, and I understand that it's a 2-year waiting limit to be able to make it a contractor's license. And that was basically the reason I wanted to sit with you guys. My, not even argument, but my case is I've had the D2 for, like I said, almost 15 years, and I could make that a D1, and I would be able to do the propane work as far as I understand. But I figured is without having to pay for all these different licenses and go through this process again and test again, if maybe I could just go straight for the S1, and that way it's out of the way and I have everything done. So I learned at the hospital, I did a lot of S1 work. We worked on chillers, cooling towers, large steam boilers, a lot of different stuff. So, I worked under an S1 that whole time. So that's basically my case. I'm just trying to see if I could, instead of having to test again and go through the process all over again, if I could go straight for the S1. So I appreciate it.
Well, this is Robert Barrio, and I'm the acting chairman on the board. So you now have a D2 and an S2, correct?
Correct.
And when did you start your business?
In 2015.
So you're operating a business.
No, it's duct cleaning. I do duct cleaning on the side right now.
Right, but that means you're touching duct work, and if you're cleaning them, there's a propensity that you may open them up. Once you begin to do sheet metal work, you have a problem because you don't have a master contractor's license.
Well, I will speak on that because when I opened the business back in 2015, I contacted the state and I asked that question. And they told me I was good to go. Again, that was 7 years ago. Maybe things changed, but I did ask that because I had a feeling that there might be some sort of issue. And I said they had no issues granting me the LLC and everything. So if something changed, I understand that. And that's why I want to get this so I can get everything above board.
Okay, Mr. Gravel, brevity is very, very important, okay? And we ask you a question and the answer would be good. But first of all, you opened a business, but you never opened the business through consumer protection. You had to go through the state to incorporate and do that. Now, as far as this board goes, and based on previous precedents that have been set, you can clean ducts without a license. However, the moment you open up a duct, install an inspection panel or a cleanout panel, you need to be a contractor of record. And there's no way that that can happen and you operate a business and do the duct cleaning without having to open up. And I was in the trades for numerous years, and you got to have a contractor's license and someone that's responsible. So as far as you're having a business, I don't think you should discuss that anymore because you're opening up yourself to a problem.
Fair enough.
So I understand why you want to skip doing the D1 going to the S1, but I am not comfortable with that because you don't even have a license.
He's got an S2 license, Bob.
He doesn't have a, I'm sorry, a master's license.
Yeah, Mike, do you mind if I ask a question? David Foster, contractor member. Your D2, what were you doing prior to that? Were you working under a contractor?
Yeah, my whole career, I've been at different companies. I got the D2 when I was 20. And yeah, I was working at, when I got my D2, I was at Solvit here in Connecticut. And yeah, I was under the apprenticeship and I completed everything and went for the test and got it. And I went through my career with the D2. excuse me, and about a year ago, I applied for the S2, came in front of you guys and you approved it, and I went through the test and I got that. So yeah, I've had my license for quite some time.
Yeah, the question I want to try and find out is, did you work for contractors? Did you go into homes? Did they have contracts? Was it a business setting or did you work for an institution?
I've done both. Yeah, in the early part of my career, it was business setting. Yeah, I worked for residential and commercial HVAC companies. And then these last 4.5 years, like I said, I've been at Hartford Hospital. I'd say more of an industrial setting. And yeah, I worked directly under an S1. And yeah, I've always worked under anyone who's owned the companies had their contractor's license, of course.
Yeah, I mean, the D2, Bob, I mean, he's worked under a contractor. The idea is to get experience working under a contractor to run the business. He's past the journeyman part and he's had his D2 for 15 years. So, I mean, an S1, it's just the contractor's part. He's already passed the S2. So we would end up, I don't know if you would call it waiving, because he's had a license for 15 years as a journeyman working under contractors. So to me, he's the contractor experience. It's not so much the journeyman anymore, it's a contractor experience.
But how do you start a business without a master's license?
Well, I mean, there's duct cleaning. We use duct cleaning companies. They don't have S licenses, I don't think. I mean, we recommend people and stuff, but I didn't actually know you had to have an S license to just clean duct.
No, you have to have you want to do duct cleaning alone, you can do that. You don't have to have any license. However, the moment you go to install or cut into the sheet metal, that's a licensing issue.
Right. So if he's just cleaning ducts, it's not an issue.
Well, not every duct system is cleanable from the supply and the returns.
Oh, you mean cutting the little holes in there with the plugs?
Yep. Well, sometimes they're bigger than little holes too. So that's
either here nor there. He's been working under a contractor for 15 years with a G2 license. D2, excuse me.
Yeah, so if I could real quick, I just want to say something. So with the duct cleaning to the side, my case here is that I could put the application in right now for my D1 and go take that test. And my whole case is, if I could take the D1, just want to make it an S1 and skip all that. That's the only reason I'm really here. So.
And if he's going to start his own business, he won't be under an S1 anymore. So we have that screwy law too.
Mr. Chaplin, John, do you have any questions, concerns?
I don't, I heard him.
Okay. John?
He's had the license, he's got the S2. It's just really the waiving of the time to let him be a legitimate business by getting a contractor license.
Okay, does somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make him a motion to waive the time for the S1 so he could sit for the S1.
Do we have a
Waive
second?
the remaining time.
Tammy, John, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. John?
Aye.
Tammy?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Bob? No. Mr. Gravel, the vote is 3-1, and you have been approved to sit for your S1 exam.
Just one thing I'd like to say to Mr. Gravel. Thanks for doing things the way they should be done instead of sneaking around. So that held a lot of weight with me, that you held that license for so long and trying to do the right thing. So good luck with your business.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And again, I asked when I opened the duct cleaning, I did go to the state and ask them. So maybe things change, but I appreciate your guys' time and thank you very much.
Mr. Gravel, one other note for you in the future.
Yes, sir.
I wish you success, even though I voted against you. But would you please make sure whoever you hire, you get them registered?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
All right, guys, you too. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now, Karen, is Mr. Michael Iferti available?
Yes, he is. Oh, he was in as an attendee.
The last guy came in on two different lines. One, he called himself Mike, and one he gave his full name. I think he called in and also did a video.
Both of the two attendees we have, they're both named Mike, though.
Yeah,
So,
I think this one guy that we just did logged in twice somehow, and that's why he appeared twice.
oh, you don't, I was assuming that was the other Mike. So, yeah, I mean, maybe you're right, because as soon as this Mike Gravel, was done, both of these disappeared.
Right, unless they both jumped in the same truck and went downtown to have breakfast or something.
Richard, I thought you were retired.
I am.
What the hell are you doing here?
Well, I miss all the fun.
I figured you must have been bored already.
Richard, I hope they hired you as a consultant because we miss you.
Well, I'm here.
All right.
Okay, so Michael Iferti is not available.
Right. I just, I was attempting to move him, whichever Michael it was, over to the panelist that he could speak. Just to his credit, we didn't identify him. I don't want to be so sure to say that he was not here because we don't know if that was him. And maybe I made a wrong click there. So I'm wondering, can we move forward and, give him the chance if that was him, he would either email or pop back in?
We can do that. And I know that we need to have a little discussion with Melissa. So why don't we go to that next? Comments or concerns of any person present today? Melissa, you wanted to discuss something with the board?
Thanks, Bob. And hello, everyone. Thanks for allowing me to speak. I'm just curious about this. This is interesting to me as to why the DCP would even be entertaining something like this. I think that the staff and the DCP probably has enough on their plate. So to me, I could be reading this wrong, but it sounds like a jurisdictional issue. This has to do with the ceiling install of radiant panels that Armstrong has come up with. And I'm a ceiling contractor. And so I also do general contracting work. So I'm trying to figure out like scope and things like that. So the Department of Labor has ruled that this Armstrong ceiling, this new ceiling is to be installed and coordinated by the ceiling and mechanical contractor. Obviously, the mechanical contractor who's licensed needs to install the tubing on the back. And it's in the 09500 spec, which is a ceiling spec. So I'm just very curious as to how it even got to this level because it sounds jurisdictional to me.
Well, let me give a little tidbit here. It wasn't DOL, it was the Department of Consumer Protection, and it was our board. Many years ago, we had incidences which similar, where contractors were having the laborers bring in radiation plumbing systems into the building, and once you pick up that piece of pipe, it's ready for installation and comes into a staging area and then goes into the building. So we had huge lawsuit. Was it, Cammy, was that Sinbro that we had that problem with?
No, that was the outfit from New Hampshire. I can't remember their name off the top of my
It was
head.
Abington Construction.
Thank you, Richard.
Richard, thank you for unretiring. So Cammy can explain a little bit of it if you don't mind, Cammy.
Well, the issue was the issue was that they wanted to have laborers or whoever they wanted to bring in, do everything, putting up hangers, bring the pipe in, put it in the hangers, and then the journeyman or the licensed person would only weld it or solder it or whatever it happened to be. And that's when we made the ruling. Once anything is in a laydown area, and then it has to be brought into a building, either a properly licensed or an apprentice would be the one to handle that material from the laydown area into the building. And that was what Abington wanted to do, was just do away with everybody except the person that was going to weld or solder a joint.
And in addition to that, Cammie, Richard, maybe you can enlighten me a little more. I believe that this was a joint lawsuit and meeting that we had not only with Heating and Cooling Board, but also the Plumbing Board. Is that accurate, Richard?
Yeah, it's Heating, Pipe and Cooling and Plumbing Board, and then Dave Waskowitz from the Fire Protection and Sprinkler Board also gave testimony. But I think getting back to what Melissa's concern is, I'm not 100% clear on it. I'm also not 100% clear because I've never seen any ceiling cuts or diagrams or installation procedures on how this is being installed. So the whole thing's just totally been unclear to me, because I don't know whether the occupational licensing inspectors have gone out and gathered information and investigated a complaint, or maybe we've had no formal complaint for them to do so. But
So good point, Richard.
That's the part that's totally unclear to me. Is was this investigated, and do we have any real facts? When a sealant contractor comes in and puts up a grid sealant, electrician comes in and drops in his 2x4 lighting fixtures and or cans or what have you. And I would think the same would apply in this case if the heating loops are dropped into the grid, or they work in conjunction with the sealant person. If everything, it's not a drop-in situation, but everything is interlocked together, then I would think you would have a composite crew. And if so, for the heating side, there should be a licensed contractor, licensed journey person, and a registered apprentice under the direction of a licensed person on site doing the heating related portion. So I don't know anything about this type of sealant and the interlocking with the radiant heat.
Well, thank you, Richard. And I agree. So I asked for the installation instructions. And another reason why I'm bringing this up is because this is going to become more and more of an issue as manufacturers start combining trades. Like now we see ceiling tiles with light fixtures in them, the strip LEDs. And we see ceiling tiles like this one that I'm referring to. The job specifically that I'm referring to on this one is the job up at UConn, the STEM Center, which has their actual ceiling panels. And so Bob, you probably don't realize you're talking about the old case, which I agree, but the Department of Labor has actually issued a letter on the installation being a ceiling tile. Now, again, I don't have a dog in the fight with jurisdiction. I'm just thinking as a contractor and a taxpayer. So it says clearly, and again, I just think this is not something the DCP needs to be involved in, because you're going to see, if it starts with this, like, what about doors that are installed with electric strike? Right now, carpenters install the doors, the electrician installs the electric strike. But the more we see multiple trades incorporated into modular and prefabricated construction, the more this is going to be an issue. Then you take the taxpayer step. Well, back to your Cammie and Bob, you guys know, I'm all about licensed trades and everyone doing stuff with, according to their license. So I'm not an advocate of the ceiling tile installer making those connections at all. I'm about licensing. So I do believe it's something in tandem. And, as we go, as a taxpayer on the UConn job, the plumber rate is probably $40 or $40 an hour more. So again, I just think this opens up a can of worms for the DCP. And if there's a complaint where a contractor is having a ceiling person install the tile and the connection for the radiant heat, I'd have a big problem with that.
The
John
thing
Higgins.
that the department might want to research, about 10 years ago, we had an issue with BKM, which was a company that goes around and installs cubicles. And a lot of those cubicles are pre-wired from the manufacturer. So if the department was to look into that case and the rulings and what that discussion was, it may help in conjunction with this specific case of the radiant heat in the ceiling. So I don't know, that's something the department could look into.
John Higgins here, just this is not a jurisdiction issue. Where the rubber meets the road is any heating appliance, which means like a convector, cabinet unit heater, ceiling radiant panel, they're all heating appliances. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, that somehow a ceiling manufacturer decided they could sell more product by including this radiant panel instead of dropping radiant panels in and calling them ceiling tiles, but that doesn't affect licensing. Licensing still requires that any heating appliance be installed by a licensed heating cooling person. So these panels have tubing in what you're calling ceiling tiles. They're transferring heat through the ceiling into the space. So it's a heating appliance. So I agree, somebody somewhere along the way has to look at this, but as far as I'm concerned, as an S2 holder, any radiant panel over the last 40 years that I've been involved in, I put it in on my jobs.
So how
This
are your
is still a
contractors fitting it, John? It's in the ceiling spec.
That's because somebody went and put it in the wrong spec division in a spec book when they're bidding a project, doesn't make it right.
Again, I just think the DCP has a lot of stuff to do within licensing enforcement. I don't see this is a DCP issue, but I'm just curious. That's why I joined today.
No, and so by this, if a wall is going to come in and there's a cabinet unit heater that goes in the wall, are they going to call it a panel and they can then put in a cabinet unit heater?
And that's going to happen, John. And I guess that's my point. Like,
right. So somebody's
modular and multiple trades in components.
Agreed, but I'm still sticking, anything that I'm connecting a pipe into that's considered an appliance is still, by my understanding, a heating appliance, and it requires a license.
But
I don't know if anything, I don't know anything that's being said here that would change my opinion of that. It's still a radiant ceiling panel.
Well,
You could call it something else.
Melissa, I understand where you're going with this, and they're making modular houses and they're all pre-assembled and then somebody ties it all in. If it's made in a factory, we don't have any jurisdiction over something like that. However, if it's being hung into a drop ceiling or something, that creates another issue. If it was, say, an 8-foot wall, an 8-foot tall wall that was, say, 15 feet long, and it was just already pre-installed and it modular goes in, well, that's manufacturing. If it's being installed at the job site, I believe that that's in the HVAC jurisdiction. Eventually, it will probably change because things just keep changing.
So the installation instructions for this particular tile says it's a concealed spline. So the install has to be coordinated between the ceiling and the mechanical contractor.
That's the decision that the board has made, and the same thing. And the board was not just our board, it was also the plumbing board when this decision was made. And it went to court.
But years ago, right?
Yes, years ago. And believe me, years ago, we weren't getting these radiant panels. And please don't get me wrong, I think radiant's the best form of heat we have. But this preceded all of that. Nobody was thinking that far down the road. And in 20 years, we'll be talking about something else that we don't know anything about now.
So if the DOL issues a letter saying it's a ceiling install in 2021, the only reason why I would come to DCP would be if someone's not using that plumber or heating person outside of the license. I know what you guys are saying, that you're saying it's all yours. I think it's confusing for CMs and people bidding the jobs.
Well, I do not disagree with you. But if they're putting it under a ceiling contractor's installation, I think it's going to be a problem. In the bid package, if it's being installed in the plumbing end of it or the heating end of it, then it wouldn't probably be this particular problem.
Oh, right, it would be in the MEP specs. I agree.
You know, and I don't think it's DOL, Melissa. I believe that that's the HVAC board that created this issue, and with the plumbing board when we sued Abington many years ago.
All right, again, I'm just here for informational purposes as the industry changes with products and just making it clear on whose work it is. And then if you have it on a prevailing wage job, you know, there's a huge difference in rate.
Yes.
So as a
yes.
taxpayer, I'm voting for the ceiling guy. And having him work with the plumber or the HVAC guys, depending on the product.
Yeah. So.
Let me ask you a question, Melissa. If something goes wrong with that heating system, there's leaks or whatever, whose responsibility is it?
Well, I miss you, Cammie. Have I told you that?
No, I love you, Melissa. I really do. You're great.
No, I agree with you. And that's why I think it has to be done in tandem. I'm not a proponent of a ceiling guy installing a licensed trade at all. So, you know, the punch list, depending on what it is, it would have to be depending on what the work is. Obviously, if the radiant heat isn't working, it's the licensed trade that goes in and fixes it. And again, I do believe they should be both working together.
Okay, thank you.
Melissa, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you for hearing me out. I appreciate your time.
And Melissa, I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure to see you again. And I
You
hope
too,
everything
Bob.
is
Haven't
well.
seen you for a while either.
I know all this Zoom stuff. So, all right.
Take care.
Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you. Gentlemen, I have been notified by Karen that Michael Iferti, I believe that's how you say his name, is available. Mr. Iferti, are you available, please? Can you acknowledge?
Can you hear us, Michael?
I am here. Thank you very much. I appreciate
All
it.
right.
Can I
Michael,
just chime in, please? I just wanted to be noted that he was here from the beginning. We had two Michaels. He was one of them. So he did log on as he should have, I think even before 9 o'clock. He got kicked off somehow or another. I'm not sure how, but the point is he contacted me right away and said I got kicked off, and he's back. So I wanted to let you know that he did join the meeting as he was requested to.
Michael, we're going to ask you to speak in a minute. However, before you speak, Paul Grabowski, our attorney, is going to swear you in, okay?
Very good. Thank you.
Mr. Iferti, could you please raise your right hand so I can administer the oath? After I've read the oath, please affirm by stating I do. So please raise your right hand. And do you solemnly swear that the evidence you are about to give concerning the case now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Iferti, Robert Barrio speaking. I'm the acting chairman on this board. And you have applied for an S1 license. You currently have a D2 license. And I'm not sure how you got the D2, which you probably went through the apprenticeship program. And then you also sent us documentation that you had a 3-year course for stationary engineer and so forth. So you want to go for an S1. What apprenticeship training program have you had that would match the S1? What schooling requirements do you have that would match the S1 license category?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I am an operating engineer with Local 30, and I have 22 years worth of experience within Local 30. I had to go through a 3-year apprenticeship training program, a skills improvement program, which includes heating, cooling, chillers, brazing, everything that has to do with heating, piping, and cooling. We do plumbing, we do electricity, we do it all. I do have a New York City refrigeration license. I do have a universal CFC. I have a 4-year college degree in business and finance, amongst other certifications. If Karen passed all the information to you. So I live here now in Connecticut, and I've been here for a couple of years, and I'd like to open a business, but I am a firm believer in the certification process, and everybody should be licensed and should have the proper licenses before they walk into your home or before they start a business. So this is why I'm pursuant in this category.
Okay, so you went, excuse me, you went through a 3-year program with Local 30.
It's
as
New
an
York based.
Pardon?
That is Connecticut based.
That's Connecticut based, okay.
Yes.
Aren't they based in New York as well?
Yes, main office is in New York, but we do have an office here in Connecticut. And our international actually is based right here in Middlebury, Connecticut, where I live.
Okay. And you have a New York City refrigeration license, correct?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Now, how did you obtain your D2 license?
I applied and I was accepted.
And you got that because you had a New York refrigeration license?
Yes, sir. And because I did the apprenticeship training program with Local 30.
Okay. Richard, or Todd, do you know if Local 30 has a refrigeration license apprenticeship program here? Is that accurate, Todd?
Local 30 has an apprenticeship program. That's accurate.
That is approved by the state for the refrigeration.
For reciprocity purposes, due to the fact that there's the attendee today has stated located, their apprenticeship program is based out of the state of New York. For reciprocity purposes, the state of Connecticut accepts that reciprocity for that particular occupation.
That particular one. Do they have well, he's only got a 3-year program, so he doesn't meet the educational requirements for an S license, correct? The S1 or S2?
If my memory serves me correctly, I don't believe that was submitted with his application, but I could be wrong.
Mr. Iafferti, you took a 3-year program, okay? And is there any way that you can justify an additional year of education or an additional year of apprenticeship training to allow you to go up to the S license?
Well, yes, I do have 22 years within the industry, and I have done heating, piping, cooling, duct work, all in New York. So yes, I do have a vast experience in this industry. So I think that would qualify for me for at least 1 more year of apprenticeship training.
Well, usually it has to be registered apprenticeship training, and you're a little bit short on the educational requirements. That's the dilemma. And the only license you have from New York is a refrigeration license.
Oh, I do have a sprinkler standpipe. I do have.
But we don't do sprinklers with an S license. That's
okay.
A different license. Okay.
How many registered hours does he have? Do you know?
I do
Or
have
on
the
the job
8,000. I do have the 8,000 hours. That is what we require for our union.
Did you do installs also?
Yes, we did. We do installs of ductwork, heating, piping. I do plumbing.
Did you work on high pressure steam, installing those systems?
I never worked on high pressure steam, low pressure steam. I've done installs, yes.
Okay, well, high pressure steam is included in the S2 and the S1 license, among other things.
I think, Mr. Iafferti, that you have a D2. How long have you held that?
5 years.
So you can take a test for your D1 and get that. The dilemma I think that we're having here is the fact that you are close, but you do not have the schooling, I believe, that matches Connecticut for the S1 and S2 license category. And if I lose you on the license categories, you can please interrupt me so I can try to clarify, because I make a lot of mistakes sometimes and I just want to be accurate with you.
May I speak, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please go ahead, Mr. Iferdy.
According to the rules and regulations that are listed upon your website, it says to qualify for an S1 or an S2, you must hold the D2 license for more than 2 years. I have done that, and I have met that requirement because I hold it for 5 years. So that's why I'm sitting here today.
Well,
No,
you
Go ahead, Bob.
I'm sorry, who was speaking, please?
No, go ahead, Bob. I'm sorry. It was me.
Okay, Mr. Iferdy, you can apply for a D1 license without any hesitation, because all you have to do is hold that license for 2 years. That would put you in the air conditioning business, okay, and gas piping as well. The dilemma we're having here as a board, or maybe it's just me, I don't know. You have an awful lot of experience, but you're close to Connecticut's experience, but I don't know if you have all of the experience that would be required to meet the criteria to get an S license or an S1 or an S2. Now, there are other S licenses that are available that you might fit for, but I can't tell you for sure without having further discussions.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes.
What is the board's recommendation for me to proceed? Is it get the D1, operate for the 2 years, and then sit again for the S2 and then sit for the S1? Is that the recommendation?
No, here's how our licensing works. You have a D2, and that means that you have accomplished the journeyman requirements to get a license, and you can work under the supervision of a master license, which is a D1. Okay. Now, normally the process goes, if you want to go, say you get the D1, which I would suggest to you, and that doesn't require any approval, that's just sending in the application. You have to figure out how to go from the next step to go to either an S2 or an S1, but that requires that, again, I could be off on the educational, some additional schooling requirements, as well as some additional registered time with an S1 or an S2 holder to get the experience of registered apprenticeship time.
An S1.
Yeah, and again, you have an awful lot of experience, and I can gather how you're trying to do all of this, and we're just trying to figure out how to get you to be in the business and get your license. Anybody else have a comment here?
Is your business going to be commercial or residential?
Oh, it's going to be residential.
So you'd be more in line with a S9, S10 than he would be for what he's trying to do.
Right. So he would have to work under an S. He would have to work under an S9 to be eligible to sit for an S8 once he gets the experience.
Actually, Cammy, that's
S9 is the contractor.
I mean, yeah, he'd have to work for the journeyman. I mean, had to work under a contractor, which would be S9, in order to get his residential license.
And if I wanted to work for industrial?
Yeah, well, that becomes a problem because you could, I mean, you've gotten quite a bit of experience, but you would have to, if you wanted to work for commercial, you'd have to try to get into an S2 apprenticeship program and get that experience from him there or someone. And that usually, you've completed a 3-year program, which with local 30, which doesn't quite comply. I mean, you're close, but you're not quite there, and I'm not sure what to tell you to do, sir.
I'm sure Todd might be able to help him out with what he needs once he goes in and shows him what he has. I don't want to speak for Todd, but I think he would be the proper person to instruct him on what's his next step to get where he wants to go.
The Department of Labor Office of Apprenticeship Training's position on educational compliance, we do not rule on that. The educational institutions are the ones that would do a cross-check, so to speak. We have no jurisdiction on that.
Okay, thank you, Todd. Mr. Iferti, do you have any other questions, concerns, whatever they may be? Please bring them forward.
I'm going to know the best course of action, that's all.
Bob,
Yeah,
I think at this point, based upon what's been said, maybe Michael should take all his school-related education, background experience, and go to the VOTEC system and show it to someone who can review it, and give him, see where he can get credit towards the S2 license.
okay,
In the meantime, he can still apply for the D1 and become a limited licensed contractor doing complete warm air, cool air systems with gas as the heat inside, air conditioning and refrigeration systems on any size system he wants if he applied for the D1. But he should also, in conjunction with that, get all his education experience to the VOTEC system so they can see what courses, if any, he's missing to go towards the S2 license.
Mr. Iferti, did you hear Mr. Hurlbert?
Yes, I did, and I think that's a very good option for me.
Todd, do you have a contact person that he should go to?
All right, so I just wanted to clarify two things. Cammie, to your point earlier, that's exactly what Richard just clarified. The Department of Labor's Office of Apprenticeship Training will no longer conduct reviews for educational purposes due to the fact that we have no jurisdiction. So Richard's absolutely correct. Michael, you live in Middlebury, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I would recommend that you go to Cantor Tech's Evening Adult Education Supervisor for them to look at your education and see where in their system for educational purposes, to the chairman's point, the missing links of education are.
Okay.
Mr. Iferti, I have a question. Are you still a member of Local 30?
Yes, sir.
Todd, does Local 30 in Connecticut have a S1 or 2 program?
Not at liberty to, I don't have that information before me.
Mr. Iferti, you could also check with Local 30 and see if they may have the work classes that you need there. That may be another good option for you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so I believe that we need to take a voice vote on approval for or denial for Mr. Iferti for the S1. Can I get a motion, please?
I motion to deny. It's Cammie.
Okay, I need a second,
Second.
please.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of denying Mr. Iferti his S1 application signify by saying aye. Cammie?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Bob? Aye. So, Mr. Iferti, it's a formality that we have to do that we have denied you. Now, you can apply tomorrow, today for a D1 license. You will be approved. It's an automatic process, all right? To go to the S licensing, the ones or the two, I suggest you contact Local 30, contact the technical schools, see where you're at. Maybe they can give you some guidance to get that done. And then possibly if it's additional classroom hours, the board may look down the road favorably that you've completed the educational requirements and then based on years of experience in the field, they may review that a future application and it might work out for you, but I'm just saying, here's a path for you to do, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Araferti, thank you so much for taking time to participate with us. We really appreciate your honesty and giving us the answers, and we're trying to do the same, okay?
Yes, thank you very much. I really do appreciate the board's time. I know that time is of the essence. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day, guys.
You too. Okay, anybody else have any concerns for the meeting today?
Thank you very much. I have another meeting. I'm going to jump off right now.
Thank you, Cammie. You behave yourself, okay?
Certainly.
And before you end, Mr. Chairperson, before you end, I just want to let you know that because this is an adverse decision, JP will be drafting a proposed final decision based on what was discussed today, and that would then go to the commissioner for her review.
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody have any other questions or issues?
Yes, we have somebody as an attendee by the name of Rick Johnson. Would you like me to unmute him and see? I don't know who he is.
Hold on just one second.
Okay.
Richard, were you going to say something else, or was there someone else that said something?
No, that was what I noticed another attendee coming in, so that's all. Karen Carter.
You know, you guys are so good. Karen, why don't you let this gentleman join the meeting, have him identify himself and why he is here.
Good morning, Rick Johnson. Can you hear us?
I don't think you have a quorum right now, do you? Well, I guess you got 3 out of 6. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So he is unmuted on my end, and I can see from the screen that it looks like he's muted on his end. Try this one more time. Yeah, so he is able to speak. He should be hearing us now.
He probably needs to unmute himself on his end.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Mr. Johnson, if you see the microphone icon, you need to hit it. And then the line through it should come off so that we can hear you.
If you can move your mouse onto your box, and usually in the upper right-hand corner, there's a blue thing that comes in that says unmute.
Karen, he's in as an attendee. Is he able to even speak through the attendee, or does he have to be a panelist?
Yes, because I did. There's an allow to talk option, but what I'm trying to do right now is put him over to the panelist status, so that maybe what I'm trying to do, he'll be rejoined. Okay. All right, so now he's in as a panelist status. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. Can you hear us?
He would still have to unmute in the panelist.
Yeah, he's got to unmute. Yeah. Unfortunately, this does happen sometimes. Now, I don't know who he is, so I don't have an email to, to reach him.
The name sounds familiar. I believe he was a recent applicant, but I could be wrong.
I don't recognize it, but that doesn't doesn't mean anything.
Do you want to mute him from your control screen, Karen?
No, I can't. He's not muted on my end. This is a situation where it's. I mean, I'm going to give it another try here, but they're muted on their end, and sometimes I think they're not sure how to change that.
Oh, we know that from one of the board members.
Well, yeah, I wasn't. I wasn't going to say that. But
Is anybody proud that I got it fixed, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen?
I'm very proud.
Karen,
Yes.
if you give him your state computer telephone number out loud now, maybe he'll hear
Right,
it and
okay,
call your
right.
number.
Right. So my number here is 860-713-6121 if you want to give me a call. Was there anything else to discuss while we're waiting, or?
I don't believe so. For John and David, the only other thing is that we've been looking at other licensing and reciprocity with other states, so we'll put that on the agenda for the next meeting and try to get you a little more documentation if you want to take a look at it to see how it matches up.
Okay, I'm going to mute myself here. That was not him. Is he still on? I don't think he's on anymore. All right, let me mute myself again. Okay, so I spoke with him. He's from Hop Energy, and he joined the meeting thinking that there may be an applicant that he may have been interested in listening or speaking on or something like that. But that was not the case, so he said that he didn't have anything to share.
Okay, any members of the board or the staff have any concerns or questions? There being none, this meeting is formally adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye. Have a good day.